now live. Raywat, thanks for your time again. What can you tell us about the B117 variant and others like it? Why are they so lethal, especially on younger Canadians?
It's very unclear. They're more transmissible for sure, as we all know now, due to the mutations on the spike protein, and they look like they're more lethal across the board. Now, what we're seeing in the hospitals and our epidemiological data is an increase in hospitalization and possibly death amongst the younger demographic, partly because we have vaccinated the older demographic. So they are not being hit by this disease. So naturally the distribution shifts younger, but also because the new variants attack everybody more because the elderly are better protected, naturally the younger demographic is more represented. So it's a function of both distribution and higher numbers simultaneously. Hello, I seem to have lost you. Hello? Still there? Oh, I seem to have lost. Hello? Okay, this is odd. Oh shit, my internet fell away.
Also hearing
hi.
from other...
Back on.
Sorry about that.
It was my end. I think my internet fell off.
Okay.
We're being admitted to hospital.
We'll be right back on.
Dealing with COVID-19. Okay. It's shocking, it's jarring, and his point is well taken, at least from where I sit, that we need to not let up on our precautions and being careful, because we just need that little bit more time to let the vaccine catch up and protect even more people.
And Raywat, the physician, Preseda, telling us it's almost like a different infection.
Yeah, it's a brand new pandemic in many ways. We still call it COVID, but it has different dynamics. It is a different transmission profile, different lethality profile, still presenting with the same symptoms and the same, likely endpoints and prognoses and things like that, but the numbers are different. So we should think about it as a brand new pandemic, unfortunately.
So we can learn these lessons as we sit at around, I think, 270 confirmed variants of concern cases in Manitoba. Clearly a fraction of what's being dealt with in, say, Ontario, Quebec, and BC. Do we still have time to keep people safe here?
Well, in places like Manitoba, I think you probably do have some time, yes, which is the great news. The only good news really in this story. So what you have to do is vaccinate at scale and keep everyone at home until you've got good vaccine penetration. As far as I know, your ICUs aren't overtaxed, at least not to the same extent
they're not.
As Ontario. Yeah. So you've got time, not a lot of time, right? So use that time well. That's the advice from those on the front lines of hell right now. Because as you know, in Ontario, we have over 430 patients with COVID-19 in our ICUs, which is the highest we've ever had. And that's an underestimate, because ICU capacity is new admissions minus those who have died, minus those who have transferred out. And we never get a sense of the deaths and transfers. So the actual number is actually higher. So use that time well. Vaccinate and do not transmit more than you need to while you try to vaccinate.
It certainly is a more nerve-wracking situation. I think we've always felt the urgency, but I think in particular now the urgency is ramped up to a new level. At least that's my sense, particularly from these other provinces.
Yeah, I think that's a right way of looking at it. And the reason for that is there's an exit strategy now. There's an out, and that out is vaccination. So before we could say, oh, we're locking down, we have these restrictions, it's interminable, why do we even bother having this rush? But the rush is on because we can win a race. We can't race against the variants. We've lost that race. We can race against ICU capacity. At least you can. Ontario's too late. So that's why there's urgency here. There's actually a finish line that you can get to before the disease gets to it. So get there.
Now, some have recommended not just wearing masks indoors, but even outdoors if you're with someone. What's the benefit of that?
I'm actually not a fan of that idea. I think that you don't get as much juice for the squeeze as you might otherwise believe, unless you're spending a lot of time with someone face to face, like on a patio, where the formula here
You're
isn't
talking directly as opposed to maybe walking with them somewhere.
exactly right, right?
Okay.
So looking at their face, if there's someone you don't live with ordinarily, the formula is intensity multiplied by duration. So face to face with someone is intense. The longer you spend with them, the longer they will transmit to you if indeed they are infected. So if you're going to spend more than, I don't know, half an hour with that person, then consider wearing a mask. Or if you're going to be sitting in front of them directly, wear a mask. If you're just exercising, going for a walk, playing a sport, I wouldn't consider that to be an important thing to do right now.
6 months ago, we were asking the question, are we doing enough testing? And then we got away from that. I'll re-ask it within the context right now because we are very focused on vaccination. But given the variants, are we doing enough testing across this country, Raywat?
I think we're doing okay, that's a tough question. We are doing enough testing, of diagnostic testing. We're never doing enough surveillance testing. And by surveillance, I mean going to where we think the disease might be, or even where it isn't, and proactively hunting for asymptomatic cases. In addition, we're not doing enough genomic surveillance because we haven't got the capacity to do it. So disentangling the actual positive tests and figuring out which variants they are. So we can always do a lot more surveillance, and that's how we keep things open, by the way. We use our rapid test to that end, and we need to do a lot more contact tracing. Right now, in many provinces, the caseload is way too high to allow contact tracing to happen. But we drive the numbers down and redeploy our contact tracing so that vaccination does its job. That is the mantra here. Give vaccination time to do its job.
And then, since we're bringing up things from the past, hey, how about that app, Raywat?
Yeah, that app was a big, not a big nothing, but it didn't have the impact that some people thought it would. Frankly, I didn't think it would have a huge impact because I didn't think the uptake would be high, and it wasn't particularly high. Also, it was a somewhat castrated app using a Bluetooth technology rather than GPS. So you rely upon a lot of public buy-in, and there are a lot of failures of the app as well. I have students who live above restaurants who are getting alerted all the time that they're within 20 feet of someone who tested positive, but they never left their homes. So there are a lot of bugs that need to be worked out. And so the app, I think of the app as a beta test for the next pandemic. We'll have better apps next time around.
I hope I'm not around for that pandemic.
I think you might be.
Oh no, don't tell me that. Oh, okay. Well, on that happy note, do you have any good news to leave us on?
It means you're going to live to 200. That's what that means. So think of it that way.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. No, the good news is the vaccines work. And the good news is the Pfizer vaccine works really well and with longer duration immunity. And we have news now that it works on children. So there's a lot of good news around the corner. We just have to endure the next 2-3 months of extreme hardship, and then the sun will come out and it will stay out. We just have to tighten our belts and suffer through the next short period.
Raywat Deonandan, University of Ottawa epidemiologist. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.